Alright, so, you want to be a wizard. Yes, you, Harry. But you also want to, not die at a small gust of wind. Well, I've got the build for you if you've been watching along with any of my Let's Play series. Particularly, you've probably seen this one in action, or you just saw it right before this introduction. So today we're going to teach you how to make a tank wizard Kyros. So hop along with me and we'll start at the most obvious place, which is how do you get Kyros? So relatively early on in the story, you will be sent out to find the Void Terror, the Void Dungeon, which we'll just simply add it to here, and you can go in at any time. If you want to try and rush before that is, you may find it a little bit more challenging, but you can fast travel to the Highlands. We'll just go over to Lower Skylight. And what you'll want to do is to try and find a Gloom Tear. Now, a Gloom Tear is one of the kind of public event things. They're not always there, and if they aren't there, you'll have to either leave the area and come back or run around clearing other public event things to try and make them spawn. For instance, the Dark Star meteorites may be occupying the event spawns. But from Lower Skylight, you just take that little hook, come over here, do a jump and then a double jump and then a dash to go over there. You can just go through the bottom too, it's not a pit or anything. Slide on down to the Codex hook down here. You can kind of swing around and look for any events that might have spawned to see if there's any meteorites or anything causing. And this is the Codex halls. One of the most common places for a Gloom Tear to spawn is just down in these caves over here. There's one right actually there. It also likes to spawn in the little lake that's just past these caves. Right there. Currently there isn't one out there. So when you go up to the Gloom Tear, the worms are going to make this a little more challenging. But you have to clear it 3 waves. You are on a little bit of a timer, but it's pretty generous. Probably don't want to do this like 10 seconds into the game or anything like that, but obviously I can clear them out quite quickly. Once you clear a wave, the Gloom Tear will grow, a second wave will spawn in. Alright. And then a 3rd wave. Once you defeat all 3 waves, you'll get 8 minutes to go into this little mini dungeon. Jump across your platforms here. Wait for this one to roar back in. If you get up here too fast, do not jump on it because it's about to disappear. There'll be a not too terribly difficult dude up here. The main thing you want to watch out for him is he does a little pull attack. That's not it. Ideally, do not block early on that, or counter early on that. He does a little attack where he pulls you, let him pull you, but then immediately block or parry or dodge to avoid the follow-up attack. He's not what we're here for, though. These Gloom Tears will always have these 2 chests up at the top. Any chest that looks like this, you can potentially get Kyros out of in the Void. So you can either try and find them in the Gloom Tear, you always have those 2, and you can farm the boss that go there while you're at it. Or just go into the Void Dungeon and there'll be all tons of them shoved in little corners and stuff. And eventually you will unlock your Kyros. Easy and breezy and all that stuff. Now, when we're getting into the actual build, so the style of this build, me popping up my Echo screen and telling you to get this, this, and this, and this, and make them all legendary isn't super effective in Wayfinder because there's going to be a lot of RNG involved in getting the echoes. So I'm going to focus on the parts of the build that you can actually lock in, control more so, and for the echoes, it's going to be more kind of general guidance. Now, for a tank, I'm obviously you're going to be using the sword and shield. That's almost non-negotiable, I'd say. You could do it with the daggers if you're really into parry, but that's a different style build at the end of the day. The first sword and shield you'll have access to, let me sort, is a Vanguard. Right at the start of the game. That one is fine, but you're going to want to get away from that pretty fast. The most ideal one for this build, or that you're going to find next early on, is Radiant Dawn. If you look over on the right, you'll see Archon's Blade. Empowers blocking to greatly reduce incoming stamina damage, so that will give you a good option to block without burning up a ton of stamina early on. You may also be finding the Tooth and Claw quite interesting. That's a bit more offensive. It doesn't help your blocking at all, really, but it does. Instead of a blocking power, you throw the shield out and can deal break damage and a lot more damage out to the enemies. Depends on your particular flavor of what you want to go offense-wise. As we get farther on into the game, you'll see I have equipped the Legacy that has Phalanx. This is a basically late game weapon. You have to defeat the Reaver King to actually get the upgrade materials for it after you pick it up, but protects the Wayfinder nearby allies with the damage shield, absorbing all damage until the shield is broken. Damage shields, you may have noticed when I was fighting, there was a white bar that showed up along the bottom half of my health. You never actually see the number on your damage shield, so I've operated on the assumption that it's capped to your max health. That may not actually be true, but that seemed to be how it worked in as far as I could test it. But yeah, damage shields for yourself and your party are quite powerful. Grim Harvest is another option that can spawns spikes around you and can be kind of used as an emergency if you're getting swarmed. Bastion is another one you get laid on. That one just heals you. Again, I prefer the damage shield one on Kyros over the straight healing. Moving on into the build stuff. Abilities, this is going to be your most important stuff. Savage Rake, you want to get that third level and that third dot in there as soon as you can so that his main spell heals him. If you do take any damage below your damage shields, that will basically immediately refill you. Mine heals me for like 1,000 or 2,000 sometimes. And then up here we want Siphon Radiant because that generates arcane fragments which can be used for Savage Rake to just infinitely keep them up. Once you get to level 2 there, as well as the cooldown reduction level 3. Level 3 on that, you can choose a different, you don't have to take it, but it does help because our build is a little bit lower on damage than it might be as a tank, so that just causes the enemies to take more damage after you zap them with that. And then again, to taste, I don't get the ultimate enough, really, that I find this particularly useful to have that tiny little slow, but you could definitely put your points in there. You could very much easily take the last point off of this and the point off of this and get the level 2 in there to have that also slow people and make fragments. Heck, we'll even do that, why not? This is how easy it is to respec things. Check out my next live stream down on Twitch in the link below if you want to see how that works out for me. Talents, this is the next thing you sort of control. Now you'll have to get both your Wayfinder up to level 30 and you'll have to get your account rank, for lack of a better term, up to rank 30 to fully unlock everything in here. You also see down in the sword and shield, when we block enemies, we increase or hit enemies with melee finishers, we increase our ability power. That's also giving me some passive damage. Again, this just unlocks as you play the game. You can't really force it, but it will come into effect on the build. So this is the talent tree. Things to prioritize on here are typically the orange nodes and the echo slots. A lot of the other stuff is whatever you need to get there. Sorry about that. Allergies. Now, you might think this one is very good. It does give you a fairly large damage shield after using your ultimate, but the trick with that one is magic defense is actually displayed 10 times higher than it really is, as is every other stat except resilience and health. Resilience is 5 times higher, and health is just regular. So that retaliatory damage that you get from this node is not actually all that much. It's basically meaningless in high-level combat. So it's as opposed to chasing that, you can see I've gone and chosen to get an extra orange node instead. So you can kind of follow the pattern that's going on here. Which particular one you want to run down is up to you. There's some different flavors there. Big things to get. Every time your Wayfinder ability is used, gain a damage shield equals 7% of your magic defense. We have an extra guard type echo slot down here. I would say that one's... You definitely want that one. Over here, every time we pick up our Innervation Orb, we get a damage shield. Every time we use a Wayfinder ability, we have a 50% chance to create an Innervation Orb. And then all the way up here, every time we pick up an Innervation Orb, we lower our ability cooldowns. And then down here it will describe the Innervation Orbs, which is an Arcanist mechanic. Basically, you can kill the enemy. Anytime you kill an enemy, you have a chance to make an Innervation Orb, or in our case, every 50% of the time we use an ability. And that will just continue to pile up more and more damage shields constantly, which is why in that clip at the start, you probably didn't see any actual damage done to my health. Over into Affinity. So I didn't actually find that I wanted any of these level 25 perks, so this is why we've got this little split out here. The stats here are just whatever. I don't worry about the stat boosts on this upgrade screen, I worry about the perks. But yeah, we want more arcane fragments because that lets us spam out the savage rakes that heal us more. Vicious protection, every time we use one of those fragments to make a rake, we get a reduced damage reduction. When we pick up the Innervation Orbs, we've got a decent chance of regaining an Arcane Fragment, which we can then use for Vicious Rake, which will heal us and reduce our damage. You can start to see the loop going on here. This one's just nice because we get a damage boost after we use the Arcane Fragment as well, which fills in some of the parts where you can see our weapon power, for instance, is a little low there on the right. This was just, I had the 5 points left over, so why not get this one to charge our ultimate up faster? Which might work better with the thing I just changed. Armor, your priorities are ability, strength, and magic defense. Or ability, power, and magic defense. Pardon me. I believe I'm wearing the best set for that particular setup. I'm just double checking that because I'm always picking up new stuff. So yeah, I have got the Cursorit Cowl, the Enigmatic Gloves, the Far Traveler Belt, the Far Traveler... Coming down to our accessories. Now, accessories are kind of like echoes. We're basically going to show you guidelines. So, ability, power, mag defense, max health. That's your kind of key ones. Try and keep everything ideally up a little bit. You can see my physical defense is actually a little lower than I probably would like it to be, but... So yeah, I've got the Burned Out Tracer here, which is giving me ability power. The Amulet of Eternity gives me... let me just pull that one up properly so you can read it. This screen's a little weird. So yeah, you can see the set bonus on that is a big, fairly large boost to defense. That's got the Circle of Eternity on there as well. I could possibly go for the Ring of Eternity, but I don't happen to have one. That said, you may have to deal with lesser things as you're going up. I'm trying to think of what was it. There's some very early on stuff. Sort by rarity, that would be it. So yeah, you could be running stuff like these Blooming Claws, the Book of Eventide. A lot of that's some early stuff. Kind of the same thing once you get into echoes. I could show you all these echoes. Some of them you'll be able to get easily, some less so. stuff like a Willow Witch went away in later in the game. You will notice I have an extra rush slot. That is because of a Heroic Kyros, but basically get rid of this one if you don't have Heroic Kyros, and you'll be fine. That just adds a little extra bomb when I cast my weapon ability. It's nice, but it's not a game breaker. You will want the Broodmother Silreth, or in my case, I've got the Mythic Broodmother Silreth Echo equipped, which gives you damage shields if you happen to get guard broken. You won't have Dread Legion at the start of the game. One thing you can potentially grab is the Trickster Echo, or not the Trickster Echo, sorry. The Equilibrium Echo. Hang on. That will help. That will just give you some extra stamina for blocking. Kind of other early on defense stuff is the Knight's Maw Echo is kind of early, which will just retaliate with magic damage when you do get struck, even if you don't take damage. Like, even if you iframe through the attack and take 0 damage, that will still set off and attack it, which is a very nice one. And yeah, just generally, your ability power is going to be your offense, your mag defense is going to be your shields, and your max health is kind of, the cap on your defensive power. There's probably other choices I could make in here too. There may even be echoes that are like from obscure one-off monsters that I don't have that you might have found. So nothing too much in there. For artifacts, these again, they should be fairly obvious, but the one from creating the Trial Lingering Light just gives you max health. That's the earliest one you're going to get. This is a much, much later one. I don't even think that's necessarily applying anything useful to me. Potion-wise, try and grab this one that does abilities do an additional hit when you get the extra slot. This one that's actually empty right now, we would like to put Phoenix Oil of some kind in, which will bring us back if we do happen to take a bad hit and go down quickly. And yeah, that pretty much covers it. I play on Heroic. I've done Mythic Hunts. I'm at max level. I don't get beat up very often, so I'm not gonna. I don't think you really need to hyper optimize this game, to be honest. It's not quite to that bleeding edge where there's infinitely scaling stuff. Maybe some of the stuff they've talked about possibly doing in the future, if the game sells well, might get there. But right now, you should be, certainly if you're in a party and you'd have other healers and supports and damage DPSs and stuff, you will definitely be more than set using this build and these general guidelines. Anyways, if you have enjoyed this, remember to leave a like, drop a comment if you have any questions, and subscribe to the channel for more content, Wayfinder and Anywise. You'll also find some links down in the description. You can check those out. There will be a link to the Wayfinder Let's Play Guides playlist and the Wayfinder Let's Play. And you can also find the Discord in the link tree behind the captcha to keep the bots out. If you want to join and just ask any questions or look to do play together or something there as well when I'm on. That's all, and have a good rest of your day.